All right, hey associates, Professor HB, and I am doing another ride along this time for that mini blog. I'm just working off that document that we created in workshop, going back through, right, our camp. So figuring out what is the context, what, when, why, is this going to serve that specific user, that audience statement that we worked on? And then thinking about, some of my situation, the messaging, and the final product. And so at this stage, I'm just kind of like pondering, writing out some more ideas, kind of going through more of that revision process since, my version was obviously pretty short in workshop as I was walking around trying to help you all. So now I was kind of doing a bit more thinking in that regard. Once I got through all of those aspects, I went back to my introduction, and kind of cleaned it up, still left those highlighted areas of things I still wasn't sure because I needed to actually get into the library and figure out what we needed to do. And so I'm, kind of making notes for myself. What do I need to insert? Am I going to need to save this image, which they do there? And then actually trying to find these steps. Because I had remembered that the librarians told us we had this access, but it's I cannot figure it out. So using what the librarians taught us about Google Advanced Search when I couldn't find it on the website, I just typed in that subscription with the uccs.edu domain and found this article about it. Now the kind of funny thing is I was so focused on things that didn't actually look very good at the library website because that sign up for account link was actually on the homepage right there at the bottom. But that's another reason why things like blogs and just internal communication and business can be really helpful because even when we think, oh, this is so obvious and we lay it out, usability sometimes says otherwise, and we forget that people may not actually be reading everything. So then I actually am walking through, all the steps so I know what is kind of going on, how am I going to lay this out, and just starting to, put all that information together. Adding some images, adding some graphics, and just, literally writing the copy. So in this Word document is my actual rough draft where I am going through and writing everything. And once I got it set up, knew what I wanted to say, then I save it and I'm going to go into Microsoft Sway, that program that is really cool, that combination of sort of Word meets PowerPoint meets an online kind of source. Uploaded the document and boom, here it is. So now I'm starting to play around and just do all the creative work on it, pulling in photos, deciding what I want to link, and kind of fixing some of these aspects. Now, I decided that I wanted all my camp pieces to go together and create actually a stack out of it. This was just, a style thing. So you don't need to or not need to have done it. It's just something that I chose to do, knowing that that stack feature appeared and that'd just be a little bit crisper and easier to keep that context in mind as a stack rather than now going through and finding some images. At first I was going to use, and I searched the web for a New York Times. And even though I had the Creative Commons checked, when I opened that image up, I noticed that it came from a different source. So somebody took their logo and then put it up on Creative Commons. And anyway, I just didn't want to deal with that. So I just went ahead and used the actual one from the library and just used the screen capture to grab a snip of that and just kind of avoid, pulling something randomly from Google, at least I know it's connected to UCCS. Now I'm going through the photography database, but I didn't really find anything that I loved about newspapers, and so I went through and did a different Bitmoji instead. Really the whole kind of point, or what I'm just spending a lot of time doing here is searching through the library and kind of figuring out what are the elements of, the style, what are some images, what might I actually want. And kind of playing around. I'm just looking at, all the different styles. I decided I really liked the New York Times New Roman because that's what the New York Times uses as their font. So I definitely wanted to keep that in. And honestly, the rest of this video is just me kind of tinkering and playing around with the design, the edit, and toggling back and forth between the design and the storyline tab to figure out what it is that I actually wanted that final look to be, that final vibe. I do ultimately decide that like the black and white is a little bit too dark and I don't like all the black lines. So you'll see me going through and playing with that style. At the very end of the video, I just click share and that's how I'm going to publish it. But until then, let's just watch me template, tinker, and finally decide, oh my gosh, I am not really making real changes. I just need to stop and say that this is done.